Hello, welcome to Inspirational Transformational TV show. Amy Whitney here today with my very special guest, Jenny Mannion. Jenny absolutely has an amazing tale of transformation. She moved herself from chronic pain, chronic illness, debility, suffering, to the state that you'll see her in today, which is one of absolute passion, love, light, health. She is thriving, and it's so apparent when you see her on the camera. So to hear how she moved from what was basically a life sentence of suffering to where she is today, stay tuned and enjoy this incredible story. Let's start off. We'll start with your story. You've got so much to share today, but we'll do your background. So if we start 1998, what was going on in your life? Is that right?
Okay, when was that? That was about a year before my son was born. I think that was about, I was moved from New York City to a big house in New Jersey, over like 4,500 square feet. So I was definitely adjusting from life in the city to life in the suburbs, life being very comfortable with the people around me to, you know, the area around me changed dramatically. It went from being a town where everyone said hi to a very upscale town, mommies in high heels with Prada bags kind of town. So it changed a lot in our time there, and becoming a new mom was an adjustment, but I really did enjoy that. But I wasn't exactly happy in my life there. My house was overwhelming, and I did start to get physical symptoms of illness. I started to get a lot of pains in my legs, just sick more often, and the doctor visits started, actually I think it was around the time of pregnancy with my daughter, or right before pregnancy with my daughter was when I started getting really ill, and just seemed like I was always sick.
Yeah. And so when you say really ill, what were some of the symptoms you were experiencing?
Flu-like symptoms most of the time, and it was hit or miss. You know, I never knew what was going to hurt. Someday I'd wake up and my arms were in excruciating pains. A lot of time it was my legs. Sometimes it was my back. Sometimes I would feel nauseous all day. So, you know, the test began, you know, and I think my first diagnosis was chronic mono, because I always had the Epstein-Barr virus in my blood whenever they tested it. It took a few years later, actually, when we moved up here. My daughter was about 8 months old, and I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And then after that, it was factor V Leiden, which is a genetic blood disorder, and actually I had a DVT. It's much more common to have DVTs or deep vein thrombosis. So I had blood clot in my leg and was in the hospital for a week with that. And that led to me being put on Coumadin, which is a blood thinner, and they told me I would be on that for life. And after that, I got the final diagnosis was benign hypermobility syndrome, Ehlers-Danlos III, which they said that was progressive and chronic, and I would probably wind up in a wheelchair, that the pain moved around, kind of like fibro, but it would settle somewhere, and most likely one of my legs or back, and that would disable me and put me in a wheelchair, so I'd be in pain pills for the rest of my life.
And so how old were you at this time?
I was it was between probably like 29 and like 35, 36 that I was really ill, seriously ill.
And were you able to continue with normal activities through the day?
It depended. You know, I really was very hard on myself, and with 2 young kids, I really pushed myself to do stuff, probably even that I shouldn't have been doing. You know, I always had this image of a clean house and, you know, being able to play with my kids and drive my kids places. So I was in chronic pain, and the worst was the morning and at night. But during the day I'd have a couple of hours where it wasn't quite as bad, so I'd just do everything I could in that time. There were definitely days where it was worse than others. There were days where, you know, I wondered, should I be driving my kids around? You know, I was prone to passing out. You know, so it was a lot of questions. Every day was met with, you know, what can I do? What should I do? What's best for my family? What's best for me?
And you were told that is the state you would be living in the rest of your life?
I was told it would get worse, yeah, and that I'd need, more and more pain pills to just kind of manage. And I fought pills. I fought pills very hard. I always had a fear of addiction. I grew up in New York City. You see a lot of addiction around you. I saw friends get on pain pills and be unable to get off of them. So I resisted. Always resisted antidepressants. They tried to have me take antidepressants, and I said, I'm not depressed. I'm upset because I'm sick. I'm not clinically depressed. I have my good moments. I have, things in my life that I'm happy about. But eventually I gave into the pain pills, which I actually am very grateful for, because it gave me a peek at what life would be like without pain, which I had kind of forgotten and kind of given up on, because when I was ill, even in support groups, I joined all these support groups online, and people kind of compared how bad their life was, what they had lost with their illnesses, how many medications they were on. So I even read a book that said, like, have a funeral for your old self, like, say goodbye. I was like, crying to my husband, we gotta have a funeral for myself, So I was met with, I thought I was being strong by finding out all information I could get, and by being comfortable and not resisting being sick, but I think I was really confirming my diseases and my diagnoses constantly.
And so, when was the turnaround? Because I know you're pain-free now, that's right?
Pain-free, disease-free.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
So what occurred? What was that moment when
it was funny. I had a friend, Elisa, who I call my angel, because she introduced me to my husband. She was also the one that told me, you have to see this movie, The Secret. And after about a year of her bugging me about it and hearing about it, my husband went out and got it for me. And watching it, there were just a couple of lines there. I didn't agree with everything in the movie, but there were a couple of lines in there that really stuck out, and it was the lines about gratitude, because I was definitely paying attention to what was wrong. Can I drive my kids to school? I bet I won't be able to make dinner tonight. I bet I won't be able to. I was definitely putting my energy into that instead of being grateful for what I could do. And also that the body's always recreating cells, and basically in 11 months we're 99.999% new. And to me it just made sense that where our thoughts are and what we're telling ourselves contribute at least partially to that. And after seeing that, I was like, you know what, I can at least make my life better. And it didn't really hold the expectation that I was going to heal myself totally. I just knew I could be better by using some of these techniques, and I was determined to start immediately. I was like, I can do these tomorrow. I can do these now. I can change things instantly about what I'm feeding myself. Instead of going to the support groups and saying how bad my life is, I can read books on the mind-body connection and learn more, and possibly learn some tools to grow and to just be better. So then I just really threw myself into it. When you're sick, you have a lot of time to lay around and do stuff, and I just threw myself into reading. And I've always been a researcher, so I grabbed everything I could on the mind-body connection and the law of attraction, and really just started feeding my soul.